Hey Collective, it's Al, and I was kind of really early in the morning. I think it's only like 2 o'clock here in California, but I've been having these weird, I wouldn't say premonitions, but more like just coincidences that I thought I'd get on here and just kind of speak about, because sometimes when I was sleeping and I got woken up, and usually that means something, and so then I kind of was thinking about my day, and I realized that there's something queasy going on with the planet, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I thought it was maybe ascension and stuff like that. I'm very spiritual, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I think it was like a day before yesterday. I was at the beach, sitting, kind of, meditating, and there was this weird, like there was a cloud passing just over the ocean, and I swear to you, it looked like a tsunami. And so I just observed it, and I was like, in a moment there, I just suddenly was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to sit here and get, wiped out by a tsunami, am I? I started joking about it, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, well, there's not much you can do in that scenario if you're on the beach, but I kind of let it go, and I went about my day. And then yesterday, something showed up on my YouTube feed about a tsunami, and so I was like, okay, well, that's two different things. And so then finally tonight, as got woken up, around 1 o'clock in the morning, I went to look at my page, and there was a whole video on a tsunami. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, that's interesting. So I just thought I could say that. I was like, I don't know what's going on, because I could tell that something's going on with the earth in general, because like a lot of people, like in my house and like walking around earlier today, people were complaining that they were feeling like their stomach was a little upset. And I remember thinking that's kind of like a prelude to an earthquake. And so I was like, all right, well, we could have an earthquake. It's California, It's not unheard of. But then I started to put it together, and I was like, well, maybe we're due in for a massive wave that's going to come from an earthquake somewhere. And so I stopped to watch that video just now, and my instincts just were like, okay, Al, just, for whatever reason, just say it, and just be, whoever sees this, be aware that for some reason I'm having this really strong inclination that there is a huge wave that's about to impact somewhere. And I thought about it for a minute. I'm like, well, what does that do to anybody? And I don't really understand why I would be receiving it, but I get a lot of stuff in the ether sometimes that I don't really pay attention to a lot of things unless it's directed towards me. And I was like, well, I really did see like a huge wave on the Pacific Ocean when I was, there was the optical illusion of the cloud, and the shadow it cast across the ocean was very specific. It would look like a huge wave coming at me. And so then by the time the 3 days in a row, I was like, well, that's more than a coincidence. So I thought I would just get on here and mention that to you guys. I don't know if anybody, I guess what I'm looking at is, I don't know if any of you have been having like inclinations or feelings that either it was an earthquake or it was, because I know that there's an earthquake already due, and there's one in Italy, but there's like a big earthquake somewhere that's due. And then from that, I get the impression that there's a massive wave that comes behind it, and I don't know who it affects. Because where I'm at in LA, if you've ever been to Los Angeles, the beach is below, and then there's this huge mountain formation, basically, and we're on top of that. You know what I mean? And so I don't really understand why it would affect us directly, but maybe somewhere down the road. But just wanted to get on here and kind of just like make a little note that for some reason I get this impression that there's a huge wave that's due. I kept thinking of Noah's Ark, too, and I was just like, well, I don't think it's that size, because that would be a meteor hitting the planet, and then the wave would go out. But I just thought I'd mention it. Is anybody else out there getting like an impression that there is some sort of looming energy that will change the dynamic of the planet? I guess is what I'm saying. It's not to freak you out, because there's nothing we can do in that situation anyway. If an earthquake hits, it's like you can't outrun an earthquake. You can't outrun a wave. You would just hopefully have the warning. So I don't know if anybody else is feeling that, but it might just be because the other thing I was thinking is because I'm very spiritual and I deal a lot with the ethers. So it could be a wave of change, maybe, but it feels more destructive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels more destructive than it does like constructive. Because, in that scenario, we know that we would be okay for those who made it through, but you would have to go through the chaos of it. And so it's just like, well, that's a very interesting way of thinking about it. And I'm the complete opposite of like a doomsday person. I'm not even worried about it. It's not something that I'm worried about. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I kind of look at the world that way. So for the fact that it's coming to me, maybe that's why I'm receiving the message that it might be, is because I wouldn't react to it in a way that would be like all panicky or anything. But I wonder if anybody else out there is having this thing where they're just like, what? There's something in the energy here that I can't quite put my finger on. I kept thinking it was a meteor, especially because I just did an entire article piece and then also did a video on altruistic channels about this. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it's a meteor. But this is specifically about a tsunami. Take it for what you will. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. You guys have a good night. Let me know in the comments, or just let me know in general, if you have any indication that there's something weird going on with like the Earth itself, and like you're feeling a little bit more queasy than you used to. And I don't know if anybody else is having these dreams of like or visions of tsunamis, because I'm definitely not mental. It's not like something I consistently think about. It was just something that was triggered at the beach, and then for 3 days now I've been having these things about tsunamis coming my way, and I'm just like, okay. Anyway, that's it for me. Bye.